and those who will watch it afterwards as we are recording this. And as you know, we've been distributing the previous two. We thank them for their time as well. So this listening tour is a time for you to express your voice. We want to move forward together. And I'm confident that we can do that, and these conversations are a very important step. In a few minutes, I will introduce Brigadier General Terry Jurek, who is the Commandant of the V. Will Corps of Cadets and Special Assistant to the President, and she's going to serve as our facilitator this evening. But I want to offer just some brief opening remarks. This is, as you all know, a monumental year for us. It is our 175th anniversary. Yet even as we celebrate this milestone year, we are confronting some significant challenges. As a tuition-dependent institution, enrollment continues to be our most significant challenge. Mary Baldwin is not immune to the national trends of declining undergraduate enrollment and potential closures, especially the pressures on comparable women's colleges. To reach financial sustainability, meaning where we can support our programs, our faculty, our staff, our students, our facilities, our Mary Baldwin 2020 strategic plan sets forth the enrollment necessary as between 2,250 and 2,500 students in the university overall, with the parts of our constellation of communities working synergistically together to enhance and support the programs and our financial ecosystem. The enrollment goal for the College for Women in the strategic plan is stated to be a minimum of 700 to 750 women. The baseline for the strategic plan was fall of 2013, and at that time, the College for Women had 753. As we have shared over the past few weeks, overall enrollment has declined since the fall of 2013, except in the Murphy-Deming College of Health Sciences and in the graduate program in Shakespeare and Performance. We're down 100 residential women over the past 3 years. We must reverse this trajectory. Since October of 2015, the board and the administration, with ongoing input from faculty and staff, have studied all external trends and data. We've thoroughly analyzed our current position. That includes enrollment and finances, existing areas of strength, a slate of dozens of possible new initiatives. And certainly we have monitored our position with our external stakeholders to meet our required financial ratios and measures, as from our accreditor, the Department of Education, and our banks and our bondholders. The conclusion is inescapable. We must improve residential enrollment even as we launch other new initiatives, including our new Master of Business Administration, the online Masters in Healthcare Administration in Murphy-Deming, and national marketing for our online and adult programs. The time frame is urgent. We know that higher education is moving at a very different pace than 5 years ago, and that we must adjust now. We must act quickly, or Mary Baldwin faces an existential threat. These very difficult decisions do rest with the responsibility of the board and the administration. So we set into motion the new co-ed living learning communities and fast-track programs in the University College. Launching the University College does not mean we intend to neglect the Women's College. We firmly believe that working together, we can nurture, grow, and enhance the Mary Baldwin College for Women. There are many initiatives underway, including the new Living Learning Community for Women Entrepreneurs. When we speak to prospective students, or when I speak on admissions days to prospective students and families, we emphasize not only the proven benefits of a women's college education, but also the added value of being able to take summer courses online, to gain admission into our graduate programs, and earn a master's degree at an accelerated pace. All this building on the excellence of the liberal arts, undergraduate research, and the personalized hallmark of a Baldwin education. We're taken together over the next few years. The College for Women and the University College will bring us closer to the generally regarded thriving threshold for residential colleges, which is 900 to 1,000 students. Over the past few weeks, we have listened very carefully to your voices. We have heard from alumni across all decades. We have heard pride and excitement. We have heard dismay and disappointment. I do apologize to those of you who felt blindsided by the announcement of the University College, and we hear your requests for greater transparency. At the Alumni Summit on February 4th, we will distribute a context paper on our finances and decision-making processes. This paper will serve as an introduction to what is our commitment to produce annual reports. This material will be available at the summit, and then it will be posted and made available to all alumni. Most of all, we appreciate your offers to be engaged. Our mutual goal over the next few weeks is to do just that, to share this information transparently, understand this urgent moment, and channel the power of the work we can accomplish together. So having said that, I want to open the floor for questions so that we have ample time for that. We'll reserve a little bit of time at the conclusion, but please welcome General Jurek, and she'll give us some guidelines, and we'll begin.
And I'm pleased to join you tonight. My role as the facilitator is to ensure that all of you that want to speak, that you have that opportunity. And so it's a great chance for you to have a chance to speak with President Fox, but also to those that we're recording this for. Feel free to get up during the time and use the restrooms, which were just out to the left, and grab a cookie so we don't have to take those back with us. There's wonderful attendance tonight. Want to thank all of you for coming, and because you'd like to have the chance, and we want to make sure everyone who wants to speak has an opportunity to speak, we've got a few ground rules for you. The first one is the microphone, so that everyone can hear you, not just in the room, but for the recordings. So please come to the microphone, introduce yourself. If you went to Mary Baldwin, say what year you were there. And if you're just a friend of the university, feel free to introduce yourself and say where why you're here. We've got about 75 minutes, and we've reserved enough time for you to speak, and President Fox has said that she'll stay a few minutes later if there's any one-on-one times, but we'll take that last question at 8:20. In consideration of everyone who wants to speak tonight, if you could think through your question, your comment, your response, and share that as concisely as you can, that would be helpful so that everybody gets an opportunity to speak. And also to be respectful for the person speaking, no interruptions, let's let them finish their thoughts. And as I said, we are videotaping. I wanted to see, is there any media, any press in the press club tonight? Mm-hmm. Great, okay. And at this time, we'll invite the first person to come forward. When they're done speaking, we want to empower you to come forward in an orderly fashion, and then you can speak as well. So we're going to let everybody come forward. All right? Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Danielle Gardner, and I'm from the class of 2009. And my question is, why do you feel that this move is the correct move for getting to that threshold you mentioned of 900 to 1,000? Because to me, I just don't know how you're going to sell the Mary Baldwin experience for living on campus to males, to young males. And I don't know that it's going to close the gap in that time frame that you mentioned to hit that threshold.
Sure, thank you. Well, why do we feel confident that this is the right move? These programs are a combination of all cutting-edge best practices in higher education. So you have multiple advantages of networking and co-curricular. You have the option for a faster time to degree if you choose that, and you have the option to go right in to earn a graduate degree in a much compressed time frame. They are in areas of interest from the liberal arts and Shakespeare and performance to education to healthcare and science professionals. So these are modeled on these emerging practices in higher education. The faculty have done a fantastic job of putting co-curricular activities around them, and the applications are indicating that indeed both men and women are interested in these programs, with about 600 applications now and 25% of them are men.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm Jane Hodge. I'm from also 2009. You've said that the residential or the college for women will stay intact. That should women feel that they want the college experience for an all women, that they can still come to Mary Baldwin. I'm wondering, how is that going to play out operationally? So maybe a day in the life of a woman who wants to stay in the women's college, and how does that play out when you have men living on campus and things like that? How do you keep that intact for those women?
It's a good question, but I don't find it a question that I would attempt to answer on a get up and go to bed day in a life kind of thing. I believe the experience will be largely the same. The same systems of leadership and student government, the same female residential housing, the same bonds, the same relationships with faculty and academics. It will change in some ways because there will be some men on campus. But I truly believe that the students and you and the legacy of the program will keep the heart of that and what's special about it going.
I mean, is it, sorry,
It's
just to
okay.
clarify, is it a separate program? Like, I'm just confused on the mechanisms.
Understood.
How is it a separate program? Do these women wake up in the same dorms as men? They share the same facilities? They share the same classrooms? And so where is that line between, because so in graduate school I went to the University of Denver, which also has the Colorado Women's College, and they're closing this year. So it's sort of, okay, is this just, you're saying this, you're going to keep it in for like 5-10 years and then it's going to close, or how is that, what is the effort there to keep that intact for those women?
Okay, I understand. You had several
Yeah.
questions. I'm trying to keep them out so that I can answer them concisely. So it is admission. So it's very clear that you apply and you're admitted to the Mary Baldwin College for Women. The residence halls, except for Tullidge, will be all female residence halls going into next year. So that part is very clear. Will they be in the same classes? We've noted that there will be some separate sections for the students in the living learning communities. There will be some men in general education classes. Now, how is it going to mount up? So when I said in the strategic plan that that's the goal of 700 to 750 women, that means that we're going to devote, and you want to help us enroll more women in the College for Women. So the intent is, let's try to keep that threshold. The University College, with these 3 programs at the level we're saying now, taking in 25 a year, that means 25 a year over 4 years, that's 300. So we aspire to keep the Women's College strong at that level and add these components.
When the board was looking at options for structural changes that would help enrollment, one of the things that we observed when we looked at all the remaining women's colleges in the Women's College Coalition was that for similar types of resourced institutions, actually most of all of which are richer than we, a hybrid model had reinvigorated and returned financial stability to a number of schools, including Brenau, St. Benedict. There's several examples. Now, none of these schools adopted a hybrid model that looks like the one that we are. None of them adopted the same hybrid model as any other. They are all small, regional, very well thought of women's colleges with liberal arts traditions, and each one is unique. So they each adopted a unique model of a hybrid nature, and it is the most success that I think anybody has yielded to retain these colleges to financial stability, because many of them are facing, and if not all that are similarly resourced, are facing the same difficulties with enrollment that we are.
Good evening. My name is Catherine McLeod. I'm an alumna from 2010. It's good to see you. And I want to say I'm the president of the Baldwin organization, and on behalf of myself and my colleagues, thank you so much for hosting this event tonight. Yourself, Chairman Miller, Brigadier General Jurek, and the other faces with which I'm familiar. It's wonderful for you to have all of us, and also to see so many of my sister squirrels out on a weeknight away from our families in support of our beloved alma mater. I have a lot of questions, but in the interest of time, there's just one item I'd like to focus on, and with respect, I will read from notes so as to be as brief as I can. According to the National Center for Education Statistics, from 2004 to 2014, Mary Baldwin increased its administrative spending by 23%. That data set defines administrative spending not as student services or instructional support, but the deep state functions of how the university runs, human resources, legal, PR. And so the net effect of that increase is that where the average private college has 9 full-time administrators for every 100 students, Mary Baldwin has 16 for every 100. Mary Baldwin has attributed the financial distress that led to the launch of University College to these external market forces that are out of control, but this kind of expansion and bloat is well within the control of the university. What justifies this level of administrative overhead? How do you plan to curb or cut this spending in the future? And how are new hires authorized and budgeted at MBU?
So the period that you mentioned and the increase in administrative expenses is largely attributable to coming online of the Murphy-Deming College of Health Sciences and its campus. So having said that, that was a very purposeful area of growth and investment. And as of last year, the programs in the Murphy-Deming College of Health Sciences are exceeding their expectations and have returned to support the Women's College last year $2 million. So that increase was for the total health of the institution. Now, can you ask your last question about how are administrative hires made?
Yes, like how is the new position agreed upon and budgeted? How do you decide we can afford this and this is justified?
So it depends on where it is. If it's an administrative position, of course, that falls within the administrative budget and conversations with the Board of Trustees. Any area under that, whether it's a faculty member or a dean, is approved through the process outlined in the faculty handbook and approved as the budget supports it.
If I can just follow up briefly, I understand that these were necessary for the launch of this new program, but I don't fully understand why it's necessary for Mary Baldwin to have on average 16 per 100 students, and for another school 9 per 100 students. Why does Mary Baldwin require so many more than the average private school?
I'm not looking at that one particular data set myself. I can't answer to that data set. We have some number of administrators more than some institutions. I'm not commenting on that specific number, partly because of the niche programs we have, partly because we have special staff for PEG, special staff for VWIL. But overall, what we're going to do in the financial report is benchmark the administrative expenses and the revenue to our peer group of institutions. And we'll also do that by cost of administration to student in that ratio. So there will be a comparative set of that kind of information. Again, I'm not tonight familiar with the particular data set that you're referencing, but there will be a comprehensive set of information comparative to our peer institutions over a period of years in that data.
And when you share that data, I hope you'll also share with us how you define a peer institution for Mary Baldwin.
We can certainly do that because those criteria were set forth 2 years ago when the Board of Trustees approved a new peer group for the institution.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Catherine.
Hi, Jennifer Lloyd Marland, class of 1998, and again, I'm going to read because I've been working on this for about a week. I'm a Bailey Scholar, which to me was something that was a great point of pride. It was a very competitive program, and it was something that was incredibly hard to get into. And over the years, that program got chipped away till it became well, we'll just give it to you as a freshman and you don't have to maintain a GPA or anything else like that, and now it's gone. It used to be actually where I gave my money to support this program that gave me so much, because it gave me the opportunity to become an honors scholar, to take extra hard classes, do an extra long thesis, and I'm very proud of that. I listed on all my resumes to this day, as is my Phi Beta Kappa that I got at Mary Baldwin College. And I'm also a double major in history and art history. But a lot of these programs that attracted me to Mary Baldwin are no longer there. And that makes me sad for the opportunities that Sister Squirrels are going to miss in the future. I've also been employed in my field of public history since graduation. Kind of an awesome thing. But over the last few years, there's been this disconnect between the alumni who were so influential in me deciding to come to Mary Baldwin and the current students. At reunion, we were told not to talk to the students, and the students were told not to talk to us. We used to be able to go and the alumni would sit in the back of classes, and these were my favorite days as a student, to have people come back and hear what they were doing. And last time I went, it was told, oh, alumni are too disruptive. We can't have that. So when I met 2 years ago with a representative of the college who was coming through DC and wanted to chat with me about what I was doing, I was excited because I am a manager of an internship program, which is geared towards liberal arts students. But all the representative of Mary Baldwin wanted to do was tell me about giving money to Murphy Deming. I don't care about Murphy Deming. Outside of a promise that you made to me, President Fox, on 2 separate occasions, that Murphy Deming would be a cash cow for Mary Baldwin. So what I want to know is what percentage of the Murphy Deming profits has been earmarked in perpetuity to support the residential college for women, as you promised?
Martha, there were several sections. I bet Dr. Walker had her hand up first regarding the Bailey and Global
I have to jump up and talk about the Honor Scholars Program. I'm Martha Walker. I'm Dean of the College of Arts and Sciences. And until, what day did winter semester end? December 15th, I was director of the Global Honor Scholars Program, which is a position I held for 8 years. Now, I will tell you all that when I came to Mary Baldwin 20 years ago, yes, our honors program was called Bailey Scholars, and there was a connection between the honors program status and the merit scholarship that those scholars earned. About 10 years ago, that split, and the Bailey Scholarship, the Bailey Scholarship, yeah, not like I'm not loud. The Bailey Scholarship then was merit-based financial aid. The status as a Global Honors Scholar was the challenging honors curriculum. It became a global honors program because it had very particular requirements and opportunities for study abroad. So there is absolutely still an active honors program at Mary Baldwin, and it's still, in fact, one of the things that it does is to be sure that women meet the requirements for Phi Beta Kappa, which include foreign language, because we don't have a blanket foreign language requirement. So the Bailey designation applies to something else, but in no way reflects the fact that we no longer have an honors program. As a matter of fact, we have some alums of the honors program right here.
Thank you. I can't comment on what was said about not going to class during reunion, but I can tell you that I hope you will come back. I did not hear that comment, so it's not appropriate that I address it. But I can tell you that if you're hopefully coming for homecoming this year, there's going to be back to the class time. There's definitely going to be opportunity to go to classes and hear some of your favorite professors. Now, with regard to the visit and a discussion about Murphy Deming, on this tour, we have heard in several ways. You want to be engaged, you have reached out to be engaged, or you haven't been reached out to in the way you want to be engaged. So we take that very seriously in several ways. putting much more firm and clear systems in place if you wish to help with admissions, if you wish to help with the College to Career Center, the Vantage Point. So it could help with to channel that internship, which I'm sure is a fabulous potential experience for a Mary Baldwin student, and also if you wish to help with alumni activities. So as I said, we take that seriously with structural changes, with contact changes, changes that will help you get your information in better. So I hope that won't happen again when someone comes to visit you and they won't understand what your particular skills and offers may be to the institution. With regard to Murphy-Deming, in my response to Catherine at the beginning, that's what I already noted, that the business model is working as it's set up and even better. So that last year, $2 million from Murphy-Deming supported the Mary Baldwin College for Women.
But what percentage of the profit is that?
The way that was set up generally is that half of the profit would be reinvested to maintain that campus and those facilities and programs, and half would be returned to support the College for Women.
So that half that's being supporting the residential program will also go to support University College, not just for the residential college for women?
No, it will go to the Mary Baldwin College for Women.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Just, I just like to make it clear that the administrative costs that are associated with Murphy-Deming reduce, that $2 million figure is net of those administrative costs that are allocated to Murphy-Deming.
My name's Sarah Flanagan, and I'm on the Board of Trustees, but I also work in Washington, and I work for an association that represents 960 private nonprofit colleges, and I'm honored to serve on the board at Mary Baldwin. The way I got onto the board at Mary Baldwin is because my daughter went to Mary Baldwin. It was a rather haphazard find for us. We were literally going to look at another college, and I famously had to go to the bathroom, and my daughter was really annoyed at me, and there was the sign for Mary Baldwin. I said, I'll use the bathroom and you walk around. And she walked around and found the theater in the Sunday afternoon, and the set was being struck. And she just kind of walked into this place, and Terry Sotherington was there, exhausted, looking exhausted after this play. And after everybody had left, she said, well, where are you? My daughter had no intention of going to school. And she said, well, I tutor students. I mean, I give academic advising. Come on in. And she spent half an hour with her, helping her sort through what she'd been looking for in a college. And we got back on 81 South to head to this not-to-be-named college, which also is a member of our association. And she said, turn around the car. I want to go back. Any place where the faculty would spend that much time with me, that's where I want to go. And I said, well, tomorrow's Columbus Day. They may not be open. She said, I don't care. Then we'll come back next weekend. And that's sort of the history. I got co-opted into the Board of Trustees a couple of years later, I think, when someone found out what I did in my day job. So I give that as a context because before I speak from my national role, I just want you to say that even though I'm a late comer to Mary Baldwin and I didn't go to college there, I think that we are, I just want to tell you how much we understand or appreciate the heart of Mary Baldwin. And when the board has conversations, we always have to kind of stop ourselves because we spend 90% of the time on the College for Women. And then we have to go back and say, no, let's remember that there are all these other wonderful parts of the college, and we have to remember all of them. But the struggle and the thought and the heart of how to keep this very special thing going is very much very much a part of every conversation that we have. But Mary Baldwin is not alone, not only as a women's college, but Moody's recently suggested that over 300 private nonprofit colleges will close in the next decade. I think they're wrong, because I think the things that private nonprofit small institutions can do, and the heart that they have and the mission that they have, somebody said to me recently, in typical Washington policymaker term, why can't you just kill any of these places? I mean, rather harsh way, but that's how things are in Washington. And I think, so I kind of wear these two hats. And I don't think these institutions will close, because I think that we are so passionate about our missions And so, but the ones that will close are the ones that won't innovate and won't change. And Mary Baldwin has always done this. And I know there's a lot of question in the world about whether this is the right innovation or the right change. And I think that's really the question at the table. I don't think it's a question about everybody feeling really committed. But I believe it's the right path forward. I believe it's something that builds on the strengths of Mary Baldwin. I'd also like to introduce a little bit of a different thought for you. A lot of the programs that people want nowadays are 4-year to master's programs. And that presents a special dilemma for a women's college because master's programs by legal definition have to be co-ed. And so it gets really complicated too when you want to offer these 4-year to degree programs. We're doing it in business with just keeping it women, but it gets more complicated, particularly when the masters we already have are by definition co-ed. So that's just a little bit of a different dilemma. But if there's one thing that I think Mary Baldwin has done is it's had great leadership and great vision. And I think the last thing we wanted to do was be behind the curve. And just looking at the hard numbers, we knew that there were some really, we said, you said, what are we strong at? Where's the halo? And where are we cutting edge? And so these programs, I think, are cutting edge, building on the wonderful Shakespeare program, building on the wonderful success we've had with Murphy Deming, and building on the long-standing tradition in education. And so that was part of the thinking in this too. We talk a lot about Mary Baldwin DNA. Maybe we use that term too much, but it's sort of what's at the heart and what do we need to preserve and what can we build on. So I just wanted to give a little bit of the national context and some of the insight into some of the senses as the board has discussed these things.
And we met for the first time on a hike during family weekend
Yes,
when you were singing the praises of the May term trip that Ellen had in France. So yes, that was that it. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Celine, and I'm class of 95. And I actually want to thank you very much for what you just said. That is actually one of the few concise things I've heard throughout all of this. So I'm just going to be real honest with my emotions and my feelings about this. I felt like you lied to us. I felt like you kept us in the dark, and I felt like you did that on purpose. Now, do I have any proof for that? No, but those are my emotions. I'm entitled to them, number one. Number two, if we were in such dire straits, you really should have thrown up the flag a lot longer ago. You shouldn't have made all these decisions and then thrown them on us as if we were a ice bucket challenge. The other thing I would say is part of, you spoke to the heart of Mary Baldwin. You know why I made my decision to come to Mary Baldwin? Because I had been admitted to 7 other schools like all the other women here. Mary Baldwin because I got personal handwritten letters from alums who were like, this place is awesome, fantastic, wonderful. Any questions, call me. I offered to your staff that I would handwrite notes to prospective students. My phone never rang, I never got an email, I never got bupkis. So I really think that when you should have been paying attention to those aspects of the school, you let us all down. Okay. The other thing I would say is I'm actually starting to get a little upset. So I'm going to move on to my question because I'll see you in February and we can talk again when I've pulled myself together. I'm a little concerned, and we'd been on a thread. Baldwin, where are you?
We're all over.
Thank you. Thank you. So I've been on a thread because we're really concerned with different, I guess, kind of things that are being written both on the .edu site and on the alum.org site when it comes to explaining what university sorry, I can't even say it without laughing. What university college is, okay? On the .edu site, it says that university college will be fast-track programs, which I see you had pamphlets for 4 of them. But then on the org site, it says that they're actually going to be for all campus-based undergraduate programs. So are they for the fast track? I mean, men going to be there for fast track, or men going to be there for all campus-based? So, number one, I think that we need to go through, we, as in you, we are not French, you need to go through and clean this up. This is a mess, and it's very disheartening.
Let me just answer that question quite concisely. So the University College is the organizing, the umbrella for the 3 fast-track co-ed living learning communities.
3 or 4?
3, the Women Entrepreneurs is within the Mary Baldwin College for Women.
So this one?
Yes. Ma'am.
Okay.
So 3 are in the University College, and that reference that if a man, a commuter man, wishes to take all his classes on campus, that man will be admitted under the umbrella of the University College, as has been happening under online and adult. Those men may take other majors. So that refers to commuting men.
Okay.
Thank you for your comment. Hey, Robin. How are you?
Hi, good. Hi, I'm Robin Stegman. I'm class of 2009. I have a couple of questions. My first is due to RCW. The University College, I understand that it's there, it helps support RCW, but the decline of RCW is not anything new. Certainly not since I was a student, since I was a staff member, since I was alumni. And I'm wondering in order to change that shift, obviously you're going to need new resources and new strategies. So what is the process you're going through to really think about how you shift that trend downward in order for RCW? Now, of course there are market trends, and I'm just going to give one specific example. I'm in the tech industry. Single-sex education in coding is one of the fastest growing programs. Facebook, Google spends hundreds of millions of dollars doing it. I myself, which I probably wouldn't have taught unless I ended up in Mary Baldwin, teach female-only programs. I've seen women succeed in those programs. So certainly, and I look at the generation behind me, and again, this is totally anecdotal, but like, a lot of the conversations we've been having up to this point have not necessarily been fact-based. I see a generation that is very aware of what it means to be a woman, what it means to be educated as a woman, who seem to demand those safe spaces among women in a way that I certainly never demanded. And so I wonder, I guess, in the rebranding strategy, it seems like you guys shifted away. Shift is not the right word. You allowed for more language that put us as coeducational, that put us as professional. But I'm wondering, what work are you doing to really look at how can you market RCW to a new generation where there does seem like there are some markets for single-sex education?
Well, I think in terms of, and I could give a long answer, but I won't. The dimensions of the current value of the Mary Baldwin College for Women are emphasized constantly in recruiting materials and in a very personalized recruiting approach. But what you mentioned about opportunities for women in technology, in that slate of ideas that we said we studied, that was definitely one area, and it remains an important area for investigation. We went to these areas first because we had existing majors, faculty, and resources. But I agree with you. And also when I met with the Student Government Association about 3 weeks ago now, one of the things they said was, well, if we can't have these opportunities yet in a degree, could you at least bring a coding camp in during May term? Or could you use that time to teach us graphic design and web design? And can we help you find out other ways for opportunities to women to finally bust through this ceiling? So I'd like your help on that, and it's a valid idea on the table. It's a phased thing, as we hope more resources will come in to support all of these things in the next phase of innovation.
Well, that wonderfully brings me to my second question, which is about alumni. I will say the one thing the Boldly Baldwin movement over there has done amazingly is for the first time I had people personally reach out to me as a web designer to help me on a website. And then when I said, I don't have enough capacity in December, can you reach out back to me in January? And they reached back out to me in January and asked me for specific questions. And the organization itself, that was a volunteer-run organization, has been more than anything I've received at Mary Baldwin. And I understand, as somebody who's worked in the volunteer field, volunteer takes staff power and it takes organization. But I think part of what's been heard out of this kerfuffle is a genuine desire that I feel like a lot of people who have been engaged in Mary Baldwin have felt, that we continue to go to board meetings, we continue to meet with staff, we continue to make our best efforts to connect. I can't tell you, somebody talked about writing letters. Somebody came to present a scholarship in Lansing, Michigan for me. That was like a huge part of becoming to Mary Baldwin, because you guys found alumni in Lansing, Michigan. I have not once, and I have I was just gonna say, that's amazing. I live in Baltimore, Maryland, which is not that point. I have several times said I would be more than willing anytime, and I know I run into Mary Baldwin grads in schools all the time, and I'm so excited, but I've never been once after, and I'm on ABV, and this is why, in some ways, the letter that I was asked to sign and some students were asked to sign, that kind of put it in the camp of the alumni who weren't engaged, to me feels a little offensive, because I feel like one of the things that Boldly Baldwin has represented is a group of alumni who feel like they don't have a voice in the college, who feel like they aren't being heard, to feel like their resources are not being used. And so, to circle this huge thing back into an actual question, I guess I've heard a lot of words, and I hope between now and February, what are the actual plan to move resources, to actually do action, so that this doesn't return to being, as many of alumni have witnessed, another meeting where we're told we're being listened to, but we don't see any meaningful follow-up?
Well, I think the answer is that we have to comprehensively change the structure of support, one, and then you have to tell us, from the strength of the organization and your commitment, how we can best work together to make it effective this time. That's all of our mutual desire, that your expertise and strength can be complementary to the institution to support and enrich the students' lives and to bring your talents to us. We know in the university's part that we need more structure, designation, follow-through, systems, contact information, but we also want to know from you, other ways that you would suggest that happen, helping us understand people's particular expertise. So that's what I mean by coming together over the next few weeks.
Thank you.
Good to see both of you again. Mary Margaret Kenny Marshall, class of 99. Leadership is a physical contact sport. Physical contact sport. I hear you saying that over the next couple weeks you want to address the things that she just brought up. What is the plan to address those specifically? You've said you have a plan. Could you elaborate on your plan? It's obvious that your physical contact in communication and leadership is lacking. Your admissions is down, your recruitment is down, same thing. Your retention is down, your development is way down. What are you doing to actually have a physical contact for things that need to be addressed? If you don't have that physical contact, you're not going to increase your endowment, you're not going to increase your admissions, you're not going to increase and keep your retention, and you're definitely not going to have a lot of these people sitting around here. We want to know what you're going to do. You've had over 8 weeks to start talking to people, and this is the first week that you've actually stepped up. When we've tried to talk to you, we've tried to reach out to you, you took those resources away from us.
I'm not sure what you mean by that, took the resources away.
We were not able to reach out and have questions answered, and when we went about it the best way that we could, you took down the ability to have a voice where we were reaching out and asking you questions on the website.
So the main question here is, how are we going about this? So what I just mentioned in response to Robin is that on our end, we have to have clear structures. So we are having groups of meetings in each of the areas that you talked about. The Bravo network, that's been in place for recruiting since 2015. How has that worked? What does it need to make it work better? How many staff people and what method does that need? In the alumni office, the same conversations are going on. The same conversations are going on with Nell Desmond, who's the director of the Vantage Point. So when I say we'll organize that material and give you a clear sheet of paper, on our end, we're understanding where our processes are in place, where they are lacking, where they have succeeded, and where they will fail. We have failed in the past. We will have that information ready for February, so that when we have those discussion sections, you can say, well, this seems adequate to me, I still think we need the following, but we'll bring, as I was asked, what the organizational structure is to that time.
Hello again, and I promise this is my last question. I will sit down and be happy. I'm a fairly new alum. I've only been out of Mary Baldwin for like 8 years now going on. And I'm only started my career as a teacher 5 years ago. And this brings me to my question about recruiting. And you've spoken a few times about recruiting so far to answer other questions, but I want to get a little more specific about it. Because as I recall back to when I, very much like your daughter, kind of fell upon Mary Baldwin. I just randomly was taking the PSAT, and there was a question about, would you like material from single-sex education in the information part at the beginning, and I said, why not? If I had not done that, I would have never heard of Mary Baldwin. And if it hadn't been for VWIL and my interest there, I don't know that I would have come. Not because of the Mary Baldwin lacking, just that really brought me in, was VWIL. And now, more than 10 years since I matriculated, I don't know people who know Mary Baldwin. Now, since moving to the DC area, I've met more and more people, kind of fell upon them too. But as a teacher, it is not an option for my students. I teach in Silver Spring, Maryland. There's over 1,600 students in my school. None of them would ever think for a second about single-sex education if I wouldn't bring it up in conversation. It doesn't reach out. So going back for 10 years, I'm wondering, during those 10 years, what has been done in terms of recruiting? And this isn't just related to the university college or RCW, but what has been done by the admin, by the board, even us alum, to get recruiting to a point where we're asking women and we're telling women, this is an option for you. This is not just a backup or I'm interested in this because I always have been. This is something that I really think you should think about. I mean, if I hadn't fallen apart in it, and I'm really happy I did, by the way, my life would be very different. So that's what I think about when people talk about Mary Baldwin, especially over the last couple of months since this is kind of blown up. I've seen people talk online on Baldwin and on my Sister Noel webpage and such about how they also kind of fell upon Mary Baldwin. How are we going to stop having our students fall upon Mary Baldwin and start kind of pushing it in their direction? And what haven't we done in the last 10 years? Because I'm not seeing it. Maybe it's happened and I just didn't see it.
So this is a half-hour to 45-minute answer, but really, but let me give you the top level. So we've been asked frequently, are you only sending materials to women in that 3% who check the box on SAT? Absolutely not. So we have, first of all, starting in the sophomore year, a broad reach that is largely national. From a wide variety of names, this year we reached out to 246,000 women in the United States with information about the institution. Their inquiries come to us. Those inquiries are followed up in a very personal way, each one by an admissions counselor, follow-up conversations with women and notes from women in the President's Society, contact with faculty members. So I believe that we can stand behind a very rigorous admissions process. Now, for you to be engaged more, I've heard that loud and clear. For you to be able to have the materials, to give the full story to your wonderful students, that's part of what we're saying about this structure that we know needs to be improved. But the admissions process is broad and comprehensive, and it remains a personal-centered process.
You did ask specifically about what the board did. This year we made 58 high school visits from among the board members.
Yes.
Hi, Dr. Fox.
Hi.
And hi, I would like to say hi to Karen, who got me my first job, by the way, after college. And General Jarek, who looks great in civvies. I've never seen you in civvies, actually. And Celine, who boxed with me, by the way, after college. And Catherine, who's my sister-in-law, and Elise. I am a very proud VWIL graduate of 2003. I have 3 questions for you. I work in operations for the National Institutes of Health. I'm a branch chief. And I have been so emotionally torn up about this decision that it's been hard to follow because I do feel like I've gotten conflicting information. And I assure you I have a master's, I'm very smart. So what is the deficit? How much did you need and why didn't you reach out to us? I certainly would have been willing to provide Mary Baldwin with my financial support as I have in the past. Question number one. Question number two. I would like to know, and this is a personal question, so I'm putting it out there because I feel like I was a foster kid, Mary Baldwin took a chance on me, and I feel like I have returned it a million times over. Is this just a job to you? Because I have to be honest with you, I've been saying to myself over the past couple of weeks, I was like, you know, people who are having a worse day than I am, Dr. Fox. You unfortunately are finding out about the fighting part of the squirrel. So I actually do feel very sorry for you. I really do. And I think, question number three, I think single-sex education is an interesting concept. I do agree that it's not a winning argument these days. So I'd like to know what Mary Baldwin has done to market itself as something other than a single-sex education, because I think it's a great education, period. I am proud. I am a forefront leader in my field. I am the youngest person to be branch chief.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And part of it, I must say, is because of how I was allowed to evolve as, you know, a leader and secondarily as a woman at Mary Baldwin.
Well, let me answer the personal question first, and then I'm going to ask Jane to answer the first question about the deficit, because this is as an answer that she gave. You know, when in 2002, my husband and I were sitting in Ohio, and it was a snowstorm, and a big box of materials came to me from Mary Baldwin. And the search firm called and said, would you be interested in this position? And I said, for helping women, even though I was never availed of a women's college education. So I went through the box and I read the materials and I came to campus and I saw the magic, and the commitment to me was to enable this institution and her women to do the very best that they can. And that's my remaining heartfelt commitment. And even though these weeks are difficult, that's fine, because we're doing this for the future of the institution, and that's where all my passion and energy goes into this. So no, it's passion for me too. So Jane, you want to talk about the deficit?
Right.
I hate to repeat myself too much, but I think I have to start with the Mary Baldwin College for Women, the RCW, has not operated on a standalone break-even basis since the 70s. And that's really what gave rise to looking for, and I'm going to speak in a business manner, so I'm not trying to, you know, say there's no magic, there's, no, you know, it's just, this is a business question. So that was when, and I was a student, I didn't know about this, but, you know, we've done the forensics, the research back until then, and that was really the genesis of the adult degree program, was the fact that the women's college could not sustain an enrollment sufficient to break even. So for that I don't know how many, probably most of you are aware, it was the first adult degree program in Virginia, and it was a fabulous, and continues to be, a great, great success. Although, as you can imagine, in the 70s when it started, there was no competition to speak of. Now there's, every time you turn on the television, you see the big universities. And I'll make this shorter because I see there's a lot. But many things happen. The signature programs, that's been a technique, a very successful technique that's consistent with Mary Baldwin's missions and strengths to shore up enrollment and to make sure that the college functioned, but it has never returned to standalone break-even status. So a genesis of the Murphy-Deming idea was to create another part of the institution that would shore up the women's college, which it is doing to the tune of $2 million a year, and we expect that to increase. But the enrollment problems have outpaced our ability to put together things that aren't related to a residential college. If you think of colleges are pretty simple, and Mary Baldwin's complicated with all its programs, but basically we've got this great big campus with all these old buildings. You got to keep that up. You've got to be able to support your faculty, administration, and staff, and feed and house your students, and have laboratories and things like that. Those costs are pretty fixed, especially the campus. And so you have to do something that we can't ask 650 students to support a campus that really could house 900 and did for 30 years ago did. So the problem is it's just too great a burden on them. We felt that we had to come to a residential way to increase enrollment. We looked at what was happening to women's colleges, and I apologize to those of you who have heard me say this before, because some of you were here for your second evening, but in 11 years ago, within 125 miles of Stanton, 3,700 women in women's colleges. Today, within 125 miles of Stanton, 1,600 women in women's colleges, and 800 empty beds in those 3 women's colleges that remain. This trend is mirroring the fact that we've lost, I think it's 12 now, because St. Joseph's in Connecticut just announced about co-ed. I think we're 12 now in 4.5 years to either close or go co-ed, leaving 38. This is a trend. It's not reflected in Wellesley and Smith, but we are not comparable to them. They have over $1 billion in enrollment, in endowment. And we had to look at utilization of the strengths, which one of the strengths is the campus, in a way that would have recruiting advantages. So did that answer your question? Did you need more?
The number that you
I think the number that we're trying to support now, if you include a reasonable maintenance of the old campus, is getting close to $9 million a year. That the other programs at Mary Baldwin have to pour over in their profit to sustain the residential college. And that's why it is such a big problem that it has to be addressed in a structural fashion and not with extraordinary efforts that, given this is a trend that's been going on for 30 years, that we think we can have extraordinary efforts that continue to combat the trend for the future of the school. Did that answer?
It did. I understand, and I know I was in the Spencer Society when I was in school, and I know at that time that we were covering about 80% of what it costs to go to school. So I believe you, and I think you're in a fortunate position in that people want to be on your side. They just need to understand. And I also think, we're creative and we're all leaders in our fields, and I would have sponsored a student. I have offered to place people multiple times. I mean, we're here for you. But I will personally say, and then I'll leave because there is a line, that I found it very offensive when I read an email that said we haven't been engaged in a meaningful way. I've come back, I've talked to alums, I've sat through presentations where I was told that we were financially sound. So I hope you can understand why people feel distressed about this. We want to agree with you, we want to be on your side, we just need to understand where you're coming from.
Well, I really appreciate that, and I think that, there were some, and I don't know who's done what to whom, so I really don't. But there were some unfortunate things that happened with reaching out to donors to discourage them and some things like that that really caused some difficulty. And I'm sure it's nobody who was in this room. I mean, believe me, I'm not accusing any of you or anybody. I don't know.
So
I don't
say it.
I'm sorry?
Why say it if you're not accusing it?
Because it was the reason that there was some strong language in the letter. It was because people wanted to discourage that.
So you just painted us all with a broad brush in that email. That was the plan?
Well, I'm sorry if that letter offended you in that.
Yes.
It offended a lot of
I
people.
think the issue is that there are a lot of people who wanted to be allies and continue to want to be allies on this side, And when the only time Mary Baldwin ever in this point reached out to me to talk about this issue was to sign that letter, which was the only time ABV, at least in my perspective as a member, was ever reached out, was to sign a letter that only further deepened the divide between alumni instead of being provided with the information, as I had in the past with Mary Baldwin University, as I had in the past with Murphy-Deming, and had in both cases talked to alumni about it, that in this particular situation, I think, and I can only speak for myself, what really enraged me about that letter was that was the only time Mary Baldwin reached out to me to get my support, to inform me, to do it, was in a way that I felt was very disrespectful to alumni who were not discouraging donors, who were just confused, who were just angry, who were just not heard.
I hear you, and I apologize if it seemed that way. I mean, we had done the webinar and other things before that letter that I would have thought would have been perceived as reaching out with information.
I think what you're referring to
What
is the letter from a group of alumni.
Yes.
Who authored that letter?
Pardon me?
Who was the author of that letter?
I think it was a joint authorship.
At
any rate, and then that letter, when the original authors of the letter, it was circulated and it was sent to the ABV for those who wish to sign it, yes. So I am sorry also if that offended you, but that's how that happened.
Right.
So I want to help facilitate the rest of all the comments that are left. We have about 20 minutes left, and the comments from the seats, that's, I know you guys are very passionate about it, but then the group that's online can't hear those. So I really want to encourage you not to speak out unless you want to jump in the line, okay? And everybody, comments, questions, and responses, concise, so we can get the whole group through. Thank you.
Okay, well then I won't read all my notes and I'll just kind of make this short.
You should read your notes.
Oh, no. I have them up here. I just wasn't going to read them. My name is Nicole Butler. I'm from 2011. Thank you. Hi, everybody. I see some familiar faces. I'm going to make this kind of short as I can. But you have made quotes about SGA from NBC, however you say it, Mary Baldwin Women's College, a little new acronym we're going to have. How SGA will not be affected by the new cohorts and these programs. Now, I want an elaboration on how they will not affect our clubs and orgs, how you expect BPB to be extended, which is a part of our SGA and our Senate, in case anybody didn't know, to be extended to a different cohort, how you plan to have the $275 Student Activities Fund fee, which is the SAF fund, which we all pay into as residential women and commuters, how that $275 will play into a governing system that the UC will not have any role in. I want to know how that you feel that is actually viable, how that's going to happen. And I was BPB chairwoman, so I want to know how BPB will be extended to this new cohort. Will they be on my board? Will they be, it's not my board, so I do apologize. Sorry. How they would be on this board, if they have rights to be in the club, how that happens if they don't have a governing voice in our SGA. Are you going to fundamentally take out BPB and change Mary Baldwin's culture as it stands? And what other traditions you will extend from other parts, whether it be Apple Day for sophomores or junior dads? I would like to know how they will be incorporated or not incorporated, specifically BPB.
Sure, well, thank you for that. And you've asked me, but this isn't my decision. That's why I have said I've reached out to the SGA, and those are the conversations about to happen. So when I spoke to the Student Senate, I said I would consider that it's very important that the 572 leadership positions that exist in the student government for the College for Women remain open to women, and that that your clubs and organizations and your student activity fee support that structure.
Okay.
The student activity fee for the students in the University College will support those co-curricular activities.
So they will be completely separate?
They will be separate. But let me say that why I am not the person making this decision is because when I said that, the SGA said, well, maybe we should consider if they should elect one representative to have a voice in the Senate. This is coming from the student government. This is not coming from me. So those conversations are going to happen, and I consider the purview of the SGA now, and as the new officers are elected coming in, to determine if they wish any interface next year with the university college, men and women.
And while I respect all student leader, government leaders to make a decision, is it not student life's job to direct them in a way that says, this might not be viable? You cannot give them a seat to have governing over BPB if they will not be allowed to be on the board. And if they do have a governing seat, do they then have voting rights, which they are then have privilege to bring about change? They're not going to have enough if they only get one seat. I understand. But my point is, did someone not think of this when it happened? Was there not someone from student life on the board when this decision was made? And who decided that that BPB would be extended if it was a discussion between SGA?
So student life was present at these discussions, certainly in the conversations that I've had with SGA.
Okay.
I am being honest with you that the particulars of BPB have not yet been addressed. So the decision is not made.
So the decision is not, so how can it be even considered, is my question.
Because the student government officers said they wished to consider it. I do not know what recommendations will come from that. That's coming in the next 6 weeks. Why does that puzzle you? It's not my decision to make.
And I understand that, and I respect them too. I was on there for most of my 4 years there.
You sure did.
So my question is, in the hierarchy of it, we have said it will not fundamentally change our SGA. BPB is a 75% club. So if anybody doesn't know, there are several boards that sit 75% and they receive 75% of the SAF fund. So if these cohorts will not pay into that SAF fund, how do they even get a seat to say BPB or on Senate or SGA in the first place? It puzzles me that if we're saying they're not going to touch this, BPB is under our SGA. So if they're not going to touch it and it's not going to change, how extend it?
I can't answer.
So it hasn't been discussed yet as SGA?
At that level that you're asking me, and I appreciate it, but it has not been discussed at that level of detail by the SGA.
What about by student life?
Student life, when I say SGA, the student life representatives to SGA are always present in the room. So we have had these joint discussions to lay the groundwork, but the discussions are coming in the next few weeks.
Okay, and wrap this up, and you can send these in an email. This is fine, because I know we're short on time. What facilities changes will need to be made in Tullidge? What are the expenditures we'll be spending to change any of the dorms, and how will you sustain residence life for the new cohorts, whether it be male RAs or their female RAs for the first year?
So the answer to that is there will be some cosmetic changes in Tullidge. That's we're applying for outside funding to do that. And yes, there will need to be a male resident assistant in that hall as well as a female. And there are male graduate assistants in the education and in the Shakespeare program now who can apply for those positions.
Okay, last question. Is the new staff member who, it was said that we would receive one new staff member for the cohorts and it would be in residence life. Have they already started interviewing for these positions?
Nope, we're going to put together that job description.
So it's still only one?
At this point, yes.
Okay, last question, I promise. How does this affect move-in?
I can be perfectly honest with you about that. The only thing about move-in that's been discussed is that these 3 living learning communities would be integrated into the move-in schedule at the best place to accommodate that in the flow of move-in. So it will happen in the same time frame.
Okay, but student leaders will not be expected to help them move in as we do with the residential?
The cadets will be there.
Cadets are always on campus.
Okay.
Only if they volunteer, but we will definitely have
just a question.
Yes.
Okay.
But you're also asking things that we will work out over the next few months as we redo everything for the coming year and during the orientation schedule.
Okay.
Okay?
All right, thank you.
gonna hustle as fast as I can to be quick because I just heard something exciting a few minutes ago because Robin asked her wonderful question and about outreach, and you said such lovely things about us. And thank you. You've done wonderful work for us on our website. And I heard you say that you would be interested in working with us and engaging with us, which is a big change because when we sent our letter of outreach to you and to the Board of Trustees, we were told that the Mary Baldwin administration was not interested in engaging with separate groups. And we heard this again last night, and so it's wonderful to hear that you would be interested in engaging with us. Can we hope that perhaps at the summit we might all sit down together to go over an agenda of items that we have that we would like to discuss, and thus talk about some ways we can move forward and all work together?
Yeah, what I said last night is the way I still feel. We're here together in a listening tour. There are members of your group, there are members from other parts, alumni across the ages. We're here, you're sharing your opinions. This is a listening tour. The same thing can happen at the summit. Bring your opinions. I'm inviting all alumni to the summit.
So a few moments ago when you looked at us and said that you wanted to engage with us as a group, that was perhaps not quite an organized offer.
It's an offer to come to the summit and bring your ideas to the table as other alumni will come to the summit and bring their ideas to the table.
Okay, but not to work with us and harness the energy that Robin has felt.
Well, we work with all alumni and alumni, and any vowel you wish to put it in, are invited to the summit for this engagement. It is no less intense an invitation, but if someone is a member of one group or another group, it's everybody. We are not going to shut out people who aren't aware or whatever from anything that we're doing. So no, there's not going to be any specific sit down or whatever that excludes any alumni. Because we can't do that. I mean, we can't exclude alumni from the alumni events.
Y'all have had private one-on-one meetings with individual alumna to discuss their concerns, and we are a group of women. From our perspective, it just makes more sense to meet with a small group representing a larger group than to go onesie, twosie. There's a big line. Thank you. I hope at some point we will be able to engage as a group. Thank you.
Hi, Catherine Wilt, class of 95. So I attended Mary Baldwin as a PEG at 14. Do you really think that parents are going to send 13 and 14-year-old girls to a co-residential college?
I understand the question very much, and yes, I hope that they will. I feel confident that we can continue to guarantee the safety of our students. Rest assured that we are communicating with our PEG parents and with our prospective PEG parents in all honesty about what the program is in all of its structure, but that there will be some men on the far upper campus. I hope it will because the program is strong. I understand it may raise concerns for some. So you ask me if I hope? Yes, I do, and I believe in the program very much.
Okay, I mean, I do too, but I don't think that my parents would have been comfortable making that decision, no matter how many assurances they were given. I just don't
appreciate
think
that, and I also admit that some people may make that decision, and I think others will not after we talk about the strength of the program and our commitment to the safety and well-being of the students.
And you said that you're being communicative with the prospective parents. I heard from the tour last night that you said you were going to speak with prospective parents when they came for their visit.
That was what the question was asked last night, that we will do that.
Okay.
But the PEG staff has been constantly communicating with parents who come to them and outreaching to them.
All right.
That was in specific context of the upcoming visit days.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
So it's 8:20. We're going to take this last question. President Fox has promised that she will stay around, and we want to to engage with you, so we're going to take this last
Excuse me,
question.
but I have a question. I'm a parent, and the question that I have is in reference to parent affairs, because you just mentioned that you've been in contact with parents. I'm a parent. I love Mary Baldwin enough to not only send one child.
Please, come up, please, ma'am, tell me your name.
My name is Akia Garnett. I loved Mary Baldwin, and I emphasize loved Mary Baldwin enough to send not one of my daughters, but two. I have never received any message via mail, email,
Peg
or any.
students, ma'am?
It doesn't matter. If there are going to be males on campus, I care. You just mentioned to someone else that, you don't know if that would affect a parent's decision, but it does. It definitely would have affected my decision. It was very important to me that my daughters be on a campus where I knew that I could sleep at night and not worry about any of the things that I know happen at co-ed schools. And I just feel as if this was a horrible decision-making process. I feel like there was no transparency. I learned about this on social media, and the communication backlash that you all received was enough for me to just shut down and not ever want to interact with the Mary Baldwin brand again. So, do parents care whether or not they are directly or indirectly affected by this? Let me speak on behalf of them tonight. Yes, we do.
Well, thank you for caring very much. There will be a comprehensive communication with parents after the first of the year. It has not happened yet. You are correct.
It should have happened before this decision was made. Let parents weigh in. We pay.
Yeah,
that's
right.
Appreciate that.
Hi, President Fox. My name is Meredith Miller. I'm a class of 2013. I know it's been brought up tonight that, the extra beds on the residential campus has long been a problem in terms of enrollment. And I do remember when I was in Student Senate, I'm not sure which year, but the issue was brought up of allowing grad students, maybe in the Shakespeare and Performance or the education program, or the Fulbright Scholar faculty who was there that year to live on I believe specifically Woodrow Terrace, and there was like a big kerfuffle, and they were like, no, absolutely, we're not gonna, it was very much shut down, and I wondered if the idea had been brought back up, allowing grad students, and I know it was like, do we let the whole because our grad programs are co-ed, allowing males to live on campus as grad students versus only having the women grad students, that didn't seem fair in terms of the program, but I didn't know if that idea had been brought up or if you gave any thought to having grad students live in the dorms if, you're needing that room and board money coming in.
Yes, so certainly the experiment that you talked about was for a year there were women graduate students living particularly in Woodrow Terrace. There weren't many students who subscribed to that, and we did reconsider that idea, and there weren't many of the male or female graduate students in existing programs who were interested in that housing.
Okay, thanks.
Absolutely.
Yep, we do have time.
About 5 minutes, yeah.
My name's Damaris Christensen. I'm a 1990 PEG graduate, and just for the context, because I think I'm going to reflect something that I've already heard others say, I've been on the alumni board for 6 years. I'm not on it now. And I have continued to give Mary Baldwin money monthly for more than a decade.
Thank you.
And I have been hurt and offended, and I feel like the communications around this idea has been incredibly deceptive. I found out about what happened when a friend, not even a friend, someone in another PEG class posted something to Facebook that said, "Is Mary Baldwin going co-ed?" And I had to listen for 2 minutes to this video before it was slipped in that there was a university college. I have still not been able to wrap my head around how 2 colleges can coexist using the same campus and the same facilities and not be just one college. So that also feels deceptive, like you're not owning Mary Baldwin going co-ed. So that's my personal feeling, and I think unfortunately that has resulted in many people who want to support the college feeling a sense of betrayal that then infects everything else that we hear. So I would like you to develop some kind of plan for addressing that as you move forward. I would like you to have some clarity about what you see as the clear value of the women's college, because it's buried on the website and I don't see it or hear it. I think that the more buried that is, the harder it is to trust that you really are trying to keep the women's college supported. So it's been frustrating to hear to hear back from you that you've tried to communicate with the alumni when I've not gotten a letter. I didn't get an email. I didn't get a phone call. You know how to find me financially, and you would think through the alumni office I would be findable. And I found out very indirectly, and then listened to you say that you'd communicated with us. So I
didn't receive the emails?
No. I would bet if you did a show of hands.
People did not receive the email.
And I'm a class secretary, and I didn't get it.
Wait, wow. What were these emails?
I think that speaks to the point.
The email about original November 28 communication about the university college.
I got that.
So that is first of all, thank you for sharing your thoughts. I'm sorry for that failure of communication and that hurt you. But this is another problem about fixing our systems to know how you can enter your information so that we can find you and follow up with you.
I understand that, but you have my information.
I can't explain from the list. I didn't pull the list, and I'm not abdicating responsibility for it, but it doesn't make sense that you wouldn't have received it, and I can't explain it.
I got the email asking for money, though.
Right.
I did get that.
I always get that phone call.
Yeah, so I think that there are bigger issues, but I want you to understand that technical issue really, I think, has infected this whole discussion.
I do understand that,
and
I really do. Yeah.
Separately than that, I will keep any of my personal questions out, but I have a friend who is not near any of the listening sites, and so I promised her that I would try to ask her question, which is basically this. If you have students at University College who meet criteria for scholarships, how are you not going to end up needing to support them and discount their tuition? And how can you be sure that will, in fact, give you the financial support you need to somehow support the College for Women, which, in my mind, is still going co-ed?
They will be offered scholarships. They will not be offered any endowed scholarships or funds that are resources for the women's college. It's the discounting scholarship. So in other words, they're offered a scholarship of $10,000 if that's what it is, and they will pay their tuition after that discount and scholarship and their room and board. And 75 students added at that level of discounting and tuition board is a considerable improvement in tuition for the overall institution next year, and that will accumulate for each year that we matriculate those new groups for the following 4 years.
I know I'm the bad guy. President Fox, we want to thank you, and we want to thank all of you for coming, and the Press Club, awesome location for us. Thank you for your time, and this will be the end of the formal portion, and please take cookies, and we're going to hang here for a little bit of time to answer any of the folks that are still in line.
And I hope you will be able to come on February 4th. The Alumni Board's been helping put together an excellent agenda for that, so please come, and as I said, those materials will be made available afterwards. So thank you so much for coming, and we will be here, and there are a lot of cookies, so please take a cookie.